Every week I come here, I set up my stuff, I set up the camera, point it at the mirror, make sure it's nice and in a similar spot. The frame is similar, put the mic in the same spot, make sure it's in the center, make sure it's in focus. I do the light. I didn't do the light today. It's not lit. It's gonna look ugly. And every week I have to ask myself, why am I doing this? What's the point? Every week I question whether I should just stop. What's the point? And then I come back to the same conclusion that regardless of how I feel about doing this, regardless of how I feel about what I have to offer right now, the goal is not what I have to offer right now, essentially. The goal is to do it. The goal is the discipline, and the goal is to learn and to improve at this thing, simply at being more eloquent and articulate. That's the goal. And every week is the same thing. This week I'm late. I usually record these at the end of the week on Saturday, so I'm a few days late, and so I've had more time to question and to ask, what do I have to offer? I kind of lose sight. It's not that I lose sight of the actual goal, but is it enough? I suppose I should strive for more. So I'm striving to improve at this, at speaking, at being more articulate. I'm striving at this every week, but there should be some value added. And so, I'm 24 years old. I have very little life experience based on the fact that I'm 24 years old. What do I have to offer? And then I see that the first thing you need, not the first thing, but one of the main ingredients in becoming successful at any point in your life is a blindness to a degree, is charging head first and not questioning yourself too much. When you question yourself, you stop yourself. So you do have to be arrogant to a degree and blind to how foolish you could come off. And something I'm realizing, or something I've known for a long time, is that I have always felt like I was too old for this shit. I always felt like I was too old to make mistakes, too old to act a certain way. I would feel shame when I acted my age, really. And so, even when I was 16, I would think, or 14 or 12, I would think, I'm too old to make that type of mistake. I'm too old to behave like a child. And I'm trying to reverse this in a way by accepting, I suppose, how do I accept my age and where I am in my life? But also, how do I stop being so, critical of myself? So sometimes I like to tell myself, okay, I'm 12 years old. I'm a child. Now, I'm not 12 years old. I'm double that. But in many ways, I am a child. And in many ways, people who are successful at my age, it seems they have accepted this idea that they shouldn't, be too critical of themselves. They should accept the fact that they are ignorant, they lack experience, they're going to make mistakes. And if it's documented on the internet, that's fine. So it's difficult, but I suppose it comes with being a perfectionist to a degree. I don't like the idea of making mistakes and of coming off stupid, even though I've been able to do it for the past almost 40 weeks now. So I'm trying to force myself to remind myself that I'm not too old for this shit. I can make all the mistakes in the world still. I can come off stupid and ignorant and learn in the process. So I hardly have any notes today. And I did this because I have to do it every week, regardless of how I feel, regardless of what I have to offer to the world to a degree, what I have to say, but solely based on the fact that I have to do it. My notes. Well, last week, a very powerful, I suppose, and wealthy individual came to the place where I work and handed out, even today, in fact, an extremely, extremely wealthy, I imagine, billionaire, or from a billionaire family, came to the restaurant with this extraordinary, ridiculous looking car. And I have to ask myself, I see these symbols of wealth every day. Every day I am reminded that there are people who are wealthy, people who can spend as much as they want on a wine bottle, on anything. And that day where that very powerful person and wealthy person came, that same day I had to send £1 from one of my accounts to another to avoid overdraft fees. £1. And it was just, I suppose, a reminder in that day, in that moment, of how broke I am. And I work not many hours a week. I work just enough to get by so that I can spend the rest of my time working on my projects. The goal being that I'll be able to make money off of my art. And I have been completely unsuccessful in that pursuit. And so far. And certainly a lack of hard work and discipline is the cause of this. That's undeniable. But I've been in this situation for a while now, so I'm asking myself, what's wrong with me, essentially? What's wrong with me? Why? And it's deeply unsettling because I have tremendous belief in myself and in my skills. A big reason why I'm doing these videos and recording how I feel and how I see the world and where I am at currently. For example, the £1 story is because I believe that one day I'll look back on these, and I'll be in a much better position. I will have figured out many of the flaws that I have, and I'll look at these and I'll be grateful for the growth that I was able to go through. I make these videos capturing how pitiful and unsuccessful and worthless I am currently, because I believe that one day I will be the opposite of that. I say it's because I want to practice, etc., which is true. But the fact is that I don't show a good image of myself in these videos. I am very honest, right? YouTube, just content in general, is not filled with honesty. That's not how you get the views. That's not how you get the clout. That's not how you get any of that. It's a show. It's show business. It's about clout. It's about getting views. It's about retaining views, creating narratives, creating communities around ideas. But a lot of it is around lies, essentially, and acting. And I'm not doing that now. I'm not doing that because I believe that I'll be able to become successful with being truthful, and because I believe that I'll be able to repair this current state, the person that I am in this current state. I'll be able to repair this, to grow this, and to one day, and so I'm documenting this journey. That's the goal. Now, when you start documenting your journey, you become painfully aware of how static you are, right? I have mentioned multiple times in the past how happy, how grateful, how proud I am that I have evolved in terms of speaking from this first episode to today. But the truth is, just like with my work, with my job, I was able to grow out of this initial uncomfortable phase, this phase where I felt like it was impossible. I grew out of that. But then I stayed on this plateau for a while now. So documenting is very useful, very powerful. And once again, the reason I am able to be quite transparent about where I am at now and how I feel is because I do believe it will come in handy in the future. As arrogant as that sounds, I believe that when I make it, and I'm extremely successful and I achieve the things that I believe I'm capable of, I, along with anyone else, will be able to go back to these videos and see that I started as this. But it's incredible. It's incredible to think that I have all this. I don't know, the word talent is quite strange, but I have all these skills. I'm very creative. I believe in myself. I believe I'm truly special. And yet, here I am. Something is broken. Something needs to be repaired. And I haven't quite put my finger on it now. Yet. But I will. And that's why I'm documenting this. So I suppose in the spirit of documentation, I, along with a friend, want to start a podcast next year. And the idea will be, to summarize it, it will be the counter Fresh and Fit. Now, I have consumed a lot of their content, as entertainment mostly, but I've taken many notes. And I do believe that, on one hand, you could look at their content as harmful in the fact that it depicts a very negative view on society. They pick specific guests, specific women, and it gives the impression that that is the average woman. It's strange because they'll be the first to say that these are really at the end of the spectrum in terms of how negative these women are. But that's the only women, that's mostly the women they get on. And they have a very specific narrative. And so I believe their podcast is useful in archiving and capturing how the descent into madness that we're going through in today's society. It's a time capsule, or it's doing what I'm doing and just capturing the evolution of humanity towards the end of humanity. I don't know. But the goal in our podcast would be to do the opposite, to get healthy women and to engage in debates and to learn in the process and to depict a more positive vision of what, their main thing is relationships. So I suppose that would be part of it. But just of what people our age are like nowadays. That women are not all, bimbos with OnlyFans who are not capable of having an argument without getting angry. And on that note, I've said in the past that I don't believe men and women can be friends. Now, every rule has its exceptions. And I believe in that case, I believe that the idea of a man and a woman being friends is dangerous. Now, there are many levels to this. At one end, you will have just the pathetic men who are willing to stay, in the friend zone, so to speak, waiting for their opportunity. You have that. And then I'm sure you would need a very healthy, strong man and a very healthy, strong woman who, enjoy each other's company. And some, by some miracle, are enough in tune with their sexuality and their emotions and their instincts to never have that enter their friendship and get in the way. And then in the middle, you have all these male-female relationships where they are just repressing their feelings. That's my belief. I've also mentioned in the past that I like to talk at work to couples who've been together for a long time, or just to couples in general, but specifically when they've been together for a long time, and ask how they've done it. And through, experience, I'm learning that people lie a lot. People hide how they truly feel. And so I've learned that just because they've been together for a long time, just because they seem happy, doesn't mean that they are. Doesn't mean that it's actually working. A lot of people will settle. right? And so I think this idea of the male and female friendship is mostly settling. It's mostly people accepting that they won't get what they want, but they're not willing to break apart. And so in that case, people are suffering, but they're willing to go through the suffering. And I would love to be able to have, female friends, because, there are interesting people of all genders, ethnicities, backgrounds, etc. So why limit myself to one gender? But I recognize that at the moment, I am not strong enough. I am not mature enough to do it in a healthy way, for one. And I would need to find, people who are, I would need myself to be in that place, and I would need to find a person who is in that place. And I'm supposed to be totally blunt. I had a conversation recently with a lady, and she was very, she was intelligent. She was intelligent. We had a good conversation. She was willing to conversate and to debate, to argue without being emotional, disagreeing, agreeing, blah, blah, blah. It was very brief. And she was also very attractive. She was attractive. And I thought to myself, I would love to talk again. But then I thought that would be inappropriate. I'm just taking you through my thinking process, as weird as it is. But I did think it would be inappropriate, because I understand that that most people would feel like it's okay, we can be friends. But I'm almost certain that it's highly unlikely, and it's not something I am, and I believe most people are capable of, in a truly healthy way. So I suppose it's all about working on myself at the moment, as it's always been and as it always will be. So as I mentioned earlier, what do I have to offer as a 24-year-old with little life experience? And that was one of the main things I was asking myself before I started doing these podcasts. But something that helps is that the people who are popular, the people around my age or even older or younger, who have the clout, who get to have an influence, are dumb as shit, and their ideas are stupid, and they are stupid. Now, not everyone, and part of that may be performance, but I suppose that's the statement I'm making, is that most people who have influence nowadays are peddling asininities. And so it makes it easier to kind of enter that world, as long as you're not, highly unintelligent. And once again, just like before starting this podcast, I have a lot of trepidation at starting the other one, because I think, what do we have to offer, once again? And we'll do it. We have to. We have a lot to gain, I feel like, just from the practice. I also feel like I could learn a lot more, and it would be a lot more beneficial if I wasn't just talking to myself. I have mentioned in the past the idea that me regurgitating ideas and then being able to hear them back is a good way to assess how much I understand them and how much, and just assess my performance, so to speak. But, it goes without saying that interacting with other people is a great way to learn. So I'm quite excited about this idea. I understand it's quite a big undertaking as well. Finding guests, organization is going to be, if there are more guests, we're going to need more cameras, more light, more mics. It's going to cost more money to make. But I would never have even, thought about it realistically a year ago before I started doing this. So, once again, I don't feel like I offer much value in these. I don't feel like I am anywhere near, as articulate and competent as I would like to be. But I do see how it's pushing me forward, how it's helping me. And, this whole idea, I mentioned in the past, this speech we had at school on our last day about this idea that the bamboo, you feed the bamboo for I don't know how long, a while, and it doesn't shoot out of the ground for a while. And then eventually it does shoot out very quickly. And so when you want to grow and progress, you have to accept that you're not always going to see the progress. You're not always going to feel it, but you have to be persistent. And I suppose that's where faith comes in. I heard this recently, this idea that the tool of the devil is fear and the tool of God is faith. And faith is an extremely powerful idea. It's a beautiful idea. I love it. And I am not a religious person, although this term is very complex. But I have always had faith. Faith in the idea that I could be better, faith in the idea that I could have an impact on the world, help people. And with the monumental failure that I am currently, the only thing that's keeping me, striving for more is faith. And so this idea of faith gets misconstrued, it gets associated immediately with religion, with Christianity. I suppose it seems that faith is something that a lot of people have lost nowadays. That people are disconnected from it. And I talk in these terms relating to religion, arcing back to religion, the devil, fear, God, faith. I was, brought up in a Judeo-Christian society. These ideals and these beliefs are part of me, regardless of how I feel about the religion itself. And I believe they are useful. Once again, people love to say they are opinionated. And I prefer to say that I like questioning myself. And just like Bruce Lee said, take what is useful and reject what isn't. I feel like many aspects of specific religions are not useful to me, but many are. And there's no need, I don't feel the need to officially make myself part of any group at the moment. So, yes, faith versus fear. And I suppose as strong as my faith is, my fear is, is about as strong. There's this quote from Dune, I believe, as well. Is it fear? I think it's fear. Fear is the silent killer. It's a beautiful quote. It's longer than that. But fear is the silent killer. When you feed into fear, I suppose it's the same idea as gratitude versus anxiety. It's one or the other. And when you feed into fear, you're eating yourself up, you're killing yourself. But I don't know how to tap into this gratitude and this faith in an efficient way. I'm just using it to keep myself above water at the moment. I'll do a poem. It's one I did before, but who cares? I think it's beautiful. By Charles Baudelaire again. Homme libre, toujours tu chériras la mer. La mer est ton miroir. Tu contemples ton âme dans le déroulement infini de sa lame, et ton esprit n'est pas un gouffre moins amer. Tu te plais à plonger au fond de ton image, tu l'embrasses, des yeux et des bras, et ton cœur se distrait quelquefois de sa propre rumeur, au bruit de cette plainte indomptable et sauvage. Vous êtes tous les deux ténébreux et discrets. Homme, nul n'a sondé le fond de tes abîmes. Ô mère, nul ne connaît tes richesses intimes, tant vous êtes jaloux de garder vos secrets. Et cependant, voilà des siècles innombrables, que vous vous combattez, sans pitié ni remords, tellement vous aimez le carnage et la mort. Ô lutteur éternel, ô frère implacable. Thank you.